There are some tracks out there that they're unrelenting and keep both drivers and machines on their toes for every single metre of every lap raced under green flag conditions. But then there are some that just add that little je ne sais quoi that really put drivers under even further on or even way beyond the limit, irrespective of what they're driving, as we'll find out here today. Mistakes can be made and they can cost you a potential podium or even the run down to victory lane. Welcome along to round 2 of 2025 for the Driving Club of Road Atlanta iRacing Winter League with GT3s set to go into battle at the legendary Virginia International Raceway, also affectionately known as VIR. Huge thank you to Jason with Dash Sim Sports for helping to organise the league and providing racing simulator building, installation and servicing for all of the DCORA members. The Driving Club at Road Atlanta is a private country club for driving and racing enthusiasts to put their skills and vehicles to the test at the internationally famous and respected Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. The members enjoy not only their track time, but the camaraderie that comes along with a like-minded and similar interest membership. Today's drivers will be heading into a double sprint race format after the opening round, which took place just this time last week, the 1 hour Le Mans Enduro. And you'll see all the action live here in glorious sound and vision on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi there everybody, my name's Alex Goldschmidt, running solo in the commentary box tonight. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what does it take to tame VIR? Well, let's find out on our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spitting you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life.
More to the point, it is going to be a very, very fast-flowing track, especially when you get to the first part of the circuit at Horseshoe, then through into turns 2, 3 and 4, and then it's pretty much you're on the power quite a lot of the time. Now, there's going to be a little bit of aero wash from the cars in front and also a bit of slipstreaming going from Oak Tree at turn 12 up to Roller Coaster at turns 13 to 15. But then you've got to really nail it going through turns 16 and 17 here at Hog Pen. So it is a course that is partial roller coaster, partly technical, but you've got to have power behind you as well. So that is the circuit as you see there on your screens right in front of you. Next of all, after the season opener at the 1 hour Le Mans Enduro last week, we do have the standings now updated, ready ahead of round number 2. So Jamil Gummer leads on 61 points, 9 ahead of David Madden in second, with Daniel Vincent rounding out the top 3, a further 21 points behind Jamil Gummer. Andrew Martin rounds out 4th ahead of Rafael Junior Torres, Jackson Ainsley, Philip Crane, Adam Faust, Jason Owens and Toss Westfelling rounding out the top 10, spread by a measure of 45 points coming into this second round. It's a mixture of sprint race and also enduro over the course of this season. So tonight it's round 2 of 6. Race 1, 20 minutes long. Grid will be decided by qualifying. Race 2 will be 30 minutes long, and the top 10 will be inverted for race number 2. It's open setups for all our drivers, and the drive-through penalty hits at 25 incident points here on iRacing. So over the course of this season for 2025, the Driving Club of Road Atlanta iRacing Winter League, it also means that they're all preparing to go back on track for the first driver member track day of the season on February 24th at Road Atlanta. And more to the point, we now head trackside here at this fantastic circuit. We have a wide range of machinery as we are into the last minute and 3/4 of qualifying. Jamil Gummer leads the way with Rafael Junior Torres. Then it's Madden, Owens and Vincent rounding out the top 5. Very closely packed. The best part of just under 1.4 seconds covering the top 5 going into qualifying. So we have the good old Porsche 911 GT3, the Mustang GT3, the 296 GT3, amongst others. And there we have the number 10 car, Jamil Gummer, running in the Acura NSX GT3 with the Cyberpunk 2077 on the back. So you can see now that the car itself, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, so V6. So we have a nice amount of naturally aspirated and turbocharged GT3 machines here at the circuit tonight. And you can see he's making his way through into the roller coaster section. It's a deep compression zone, a bit like Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch Grand Prix. But then you've got to really tee it up nicely through turns 16A and 16B before you head into the hog pen. Gummer using a little bit of curbing on the outside just to rotate the car around through out of turn 17. There's actually 18 caused because there's a slight kink on the run down towards the stripe. So Jamil Gummer, 1:46.490. Does he improve? Yes, he does. And goes in with a new fastest lap of the qualifying session with 20 seconds on the timer, 1:46.352. And there is the Grillo paintwork on the number 13 of Rafael Junior Torres. Currently second at the moment, over 6/10 behind. And more to the point, it's going to be a case of, well, there's David Madden, who has concluded his session, but the 15-minute qualifying session is at an end, and we now have a grid for our first of 2 races tonight here for the Driving Club of Road Atlanta for round 2, race 1 at VIR. But what a run by Jamil Gummer at the end of it all, taking pole position by over 6/10 of a second ahead of Rafael Torres Jr., which means we've got Jamil Gummer and Rafael Torres Jr. on the front row, David Madden and Jason Owens on row number 2, Daniel Vincent and Seth Thomas round out row 3, Andrew Martin and Flip, I think that might be Philip, in that vein, rounding out the top 8 with Adam Faust and Todd Westfelling rounding out the top 10. Then we flip the page and it's Marat Sterenberg and Cameron T. Campbell that rounds out the top 12 cars on this grid that we will have coming into this race, and very shortly we'll be heading trackside ahead of the first race start of the evening here at VIR. And more importantly, thank you everyone that has tuned in for tonight's activities. So the simulator of choice, of course, iRacing, and more to the point, it will be a 20-minute sprint race decided by the grid that we have just seen. And more to the point, who will be on that reverse grid top 10 pole position. That is the key point that we will have here tonight. So if you are in the chat and you are watching along, please let us know who you're going to be supporting this evening with regards to tonight's festivities. I'm sure that we are going to have some very, very close racing action. It's always good that the members that are part of the Driving Club of Road Atlanta get the opportunity to flex their sim racing muscles here, and had the opportunity of commentating on this winter series last year here on GSRC with a few of my well-versed colleagues, including Joe Peak and DJ Clark. So some wonderful shots here. Of course, Oak Tree turns 11 and 12, known for the fact that they will be... there's no Oak Tree there, to be honest with you. But more to the point, we are getting set and ready for the first race of the night here on GSRC. And the Porsche pace car is leading through the final few corners of the circuit here at VIR. And more to the point, who's going to get the jump? I mean, Jamil Gummer and Rafael Torres have always been very ultra competitive, but the safety car light, the pace car lights are off, and it is down to Gummer and Torres to be the ones to get us under starters orders. The revs will build once the pace car pulls into pit lane. We hit the acceleration zone, and already Gummer has bolted. And wait for it, we are green here at VIR for race 1, round number 2 for the DCORA iRacing Winter Series. And up the inside tries to go Rafael Torres Jr., David Madden ahead of Daniel Vincent. Jason Owens has dropped to 6 in the meantime. And you see the cars at the back end of the grid, the field. There's Cameron T. Campbell in the number 12 Porsche, running a very nice blue, red and white livery. Flip in the number 3 Ferrari 296. As you can hear the variety of engine notes, especially that wonderful flat plane crank V8 Mustang. As we see, that is going to be Seth Thomas in the number 81 Mustang. Good to see that brand also on the iRacing server. You can just see drivers trying to get customised to a little bit of a run here. So in this opening foray, the drivers now go down the famed back stretch, and this is going to take them all the way down towards one of my favourite parts on the circuit here at the roller coaster, through turns 13, 14 and 15. A bit of a mini Eau Rouge Radiant at Spa-Francorchamps, as Madden and Campbell nearly go wheel to wheel into the approach, as they're going to see the braking markers here. And Madden round the outside of Campbell. Campbell doesn't really fight it too much, but in the meantime, Jamil Gummer and Rafael Torres have pulled away. The gap between the two leaders at the moment is just shy of 0.7 of a second. Seth Thomas closing in on Andrew Martin in the Acura in the number 5, just up ahead on the run down to the Horseshoe. Here at T1, Thomas tries to go round to the outside. He's going to try and keep it round there, and well, unfortunately, Martin still keeping ahead of Thomas, but Thomas looking for the inside line here at NASCAR Bend. Martin has got top front, so yeah, a little bit of flickering there for Seth Thomas, but a great move, initiating it by going wide at the Horseshoe at T1, then lining it up for NASCAR Bend at T3. Rafael Torres, oh, we've had a big off in the background. That is one of the Acuras. That is one of the Acuras, and that is Martin. Andrew Martin hits the barriers big time, and I think that might have been going into the Snake Complex. That's a real shame there for Andrew Martin in the number 5. He started P7, was up as high as 7th place. David Madden running with the number 2 Ferrari with Sterenberg. Sterenberg started on the back row of the grid, well, has made it up to 8th. Now Madden retakes that position back. Now starts going after Adam Faust in the number 9 Porsche 911 up ahead. So over the crest, you can see it's an elevation change they've got to deal with here. And he's going to be shifting up to 6th now, probably pushing the best part of 150 miles an hour into the roller coaster section here at turns 13, 14 and 15. Just see the compression zones here at VIR. Then it's a quick left-right flick through 16A and B, and then into Hogpen before you then really mash the pedal to the floor. It's full throttle. Jamil Gummer now leading by over 7.5 of a second ahead of Rafael Torres Jr. And they have literally left Daniel Vincent, who started 5th, now currently running P3. a little bit with the tumbleweeds at the moment. And all bit of a mistake there from Faust. Madden swarming all over the back of the Rexy livery. And that was brilliantly done. Madden taking a leaf out of Thomas's book earlier on and got the job done. But a big lock-up of brakes. And, well, more to the point, it just goes to show how quickly things can change. But, yeah, the biggest casualty so far in this opening race, Andrew Martin in the number 5 Acura. Good to see Kelton on YouTube, excited to see some close racing. Well, the good thing about this is the fact that we will see it up and down the order. So coming up to a quarter distance in terms of the timer counting down, so a 20-minute sprint race opener, and then a top 10 invert for the half-hour feature that we have got here. And there you see this wonderful camera shot as they go up the incline once again. Adam Faust in the number 9, trying to close that gap back up to David Madden. Madden started P3. Now runs 6, 1.3 seconds behind Flip in the number, that's possibly Philip, in the number 3 car, rounding out the top 5. And, well, now there's been a big problem, and that is Jason Owens in the number 8 Acura. He's lost it at one of the worst places on the circuit. He's got to watch the rejoin. Oh, dearie me, nearly got T-boned by Cameron Campbell, who's just lost it on his own. Adam Faust has lost it, and he's mounted the inside of the approach road, well, the grassy knoll, up towards the pit lane. So Murat Sternberg, who started 11th, I believe, now is up halfway through the field and is 1.1 seconds behind P5. So, yeah, the first 6 and a bit minutes have really been rather, well, 6.5 minutes plus change have been rather exciting so far, as number 7, Murat Sternberg, doing a really good job in the 296. Also, a lot of news circulating today about a certain 7-time F1 world champion getting his first outing at Circuito di Fiorano, of course, Lewis Hamilton. But you can see lovely bright fluorescent green and black 296 GT3, and you've got the other one, I think that is David Madden just up ahead in the number 2 car, 2 seconds up the road, and then down the incline again into the roller coaster section. So just under 13 minutes on the clock remain. And Sterenberg trying to reel that gap in. And Jamil Gummer still holding on to the race lead, having put it on pole position by well over 0.6 of a second. Rafael Torres Jr. has lost a big amount of time, and that gap has significantly increased. Now, has there been a drama for Torres? I believe there might have been. There was a back marker in front of the number 13 Porsche. And look, Daniel Vincent in the 720S GT3 has closed right up to the Porsche in second position. So Torres might have been compromised, might have made a little bit of an error. And if it's caused a slowdown, we'll find out in the post-race show. But Daniel Vincent really has got his crosshairs locked on, like Hawkeye from the Avengers, to close in on Rafael Junior Torres in second position. And when you have a flat 6 boxer engine, rear-engined, rear-mounted, and then a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 mid-engined rear-wheel drive car in the form of the 720S, that gap is stabilising at the moment with just 11.5 minutes to go. But Jamil Gummer looking very, very, very happy at the moment, very content and commanding the proceedings here. The opening race out of round number 2. Of course, they have a 6-round calendar that concludes on February 19th, just 5 days before the first driving member track day for the Driving Club of Road Atlanta at the circuit itself, which kickstarts their 2025 season out on track. But Daniel Vincent is closing in. Down the start-finish straight they go, over the stripe. And into the short run, through into Horseshoe, hard under braking. And a little bit later goes Daniel Vincent. But that car, he tries to put the power down early. You can see it snap and try and send the car around. So right on board with the number 4. And now into the next left-hander. This is left hook, going into 4A, 4B. Then you've got turn 5s, or turn 5A, B, 6A, B, C, AB, which means you've got the snake complex, and then you've got this lovely bit of wide open throttle action. You've got to deal with a little bit of incline and also camber and curbing going through in the run down to South Bend here at turn 10. Where there's a little lift off of the throttle in 5th gear by Daniel Vincent. Into the double right here at Oak Tree at turns 11 and 12. You nail the apex, run it a little bit wide, and then, yeah, Daniel a little bit too hungry on the curbs there through turn 12, and now he's got to gather it back up again. The gap was at one point as low as 0.6 of a second. It's now more than doubled. It's 1.6 plus seconds between Torres and Vincent in the run for P2. Jamil Gummer in the Acura NSX GT3 leading the way. In the number 10, comfortably ahead by about 8.3 seconds, just under 9.5 minutes to go. And all our 12 runners and riders, including, well, Jason Owens, who had that big drama going off. And there is, well, that's a shame there for Cameron T. Campbell, number 12. Porsche 911 losing it, and that was on the run down in towards, I think, possibly the roller coaster section. Yeah, but then you see Jason Owens is starting to make up places, closing in on Andrew Martin in the number 5 Mustang. Also got Seth Thomas, who's doing really well in the number 81 Mustang, currently running P6, was as high as 4th before he had a little bit of a faux pas. But more to the point, the good thing about the Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series is that you do have a variety of different skills, and more to the point, these drivers do really put on a little bit of show, but it's also good for their community, you know, for the community. And these drivers really enjoy having the opportunity of not having to worry about repair bills, not having to worry about tires, not having to worry about fuel in the car, because it's all virtual. And that's one of the beautiful things about these kind of series. But Jason Owens getting a real good run on Andrew Martin in the number 5. So 2 Acuras battling each other with a Mustang of Faust just up ahead, and now they go onto the back stretch. You can just see the wonderful different shapes and sizes we have in the world of GT3 racing, and Jason Owens is going to get a double toe here. Look at the closure he's got on Martin. Martin nearly goes and checks up into the rear bumper of Faust, and down the hill through the roller coaster they go. Faust leading this 3-car train, battling over the 9th, 10th and 11th position through Hog Pen, and now it's the run to the stripe once again. So this is the closest battle we have on screen at the moment, and you can just see that Jason Owens is just trying to do what he can. Well, I'm not alone in the commentary box anymore, folks. Welcome into the booth, Michael Johnson. Michael, how are you, buddy? Good to have you along for the ride.
Well, you know, it's another day in paradise. So, yeah, glad to be in the booth. It's another day at VIR, which I absolutely love. It is honestly one of my favorite racetracks, not only in the sim, but in real life, because one of my teams is based here.
Well, there you go. A little bit of trivia knowledge for you folks out there. Yeah, VIR is just, you are on the balls of your feet. You know, it's like you're biting your fingernails to the quick quite a lot of the time. But you don't really have time to relax here. It's flat out. You got the first technical part through the horseshoe into NASCAR into left hook, and then as soon as you get to the snake complex, you are literally pedal to the metal until you get to the roller coaster at T13. But this is a great battle here between Faust, Martin, and Owens for P9 at the moment. The Mustang versus two Acuras at the moment.
I love these GT3 cars. They're so much fun to drive, and I love that everybody is not all piled in the same car. You got a couple of Porsches, a couple of Acuras here. You got the Mustang out there. I love seeing all these cars because they all drive differently. If you're new to iRacing, or even if you're experienced, you know these cars just drive differently anyway. And I think iRacing has done a brilliant job here with these cars. And you're going to see where certain cars have maybe a little better top end, or maybe they enter a corner better. And that's not all set up. Sometimes that's just the way the car is. So that brings a lot of fun racing here when we're doing our fun in iRacing.
But in the meantime, well, Martin looking for a move on Faust through into the horseshoe at T1 once again. And that Mustang looks to be very, very strong, especially in a straight line. You know, you're talking naturally aspirated V8 versus turbocharged V6. And of course, for those knowing their road cars, the Acura NSX is actually a triple turbo hybrid, but just like the 296, well, you can't run a hybrid these days in a sports car field, so they have to get on with it, don't they, and lose a little bit of straight line speed to the Mustang.
Yeah, one of the teams I worked with a lot, not a team I raced a lot with, actually brought out or introduced this actual Acura to GT3 racing. So I am a little familiar with it. I played around with it a little bit. It is a lot of fun, but you're right. They can't do the hybrid version on this car because it just doesn't work in GT3 racing. So look at the way this thing comes off the corner, though. I love the way these things scoot, and they come off the corner because the balance is so beautiful. Now, but that Mustang, wow, he's got that grunt down low, big V8, just cranking out torque as he comes off the corner. And once he gets those legs going, man, it's hard to keep up with him.
Yeah, when you look at it, it's a 5.4 litre naturally aspirated V8 versus, I think it's a 3.6 or a 3.8 litre V6 turbo in the Acura. But now we see that Owens has got the slipstream assist. He's right on the back bumper of Owens going through the roller coaster now into the final run through the final couple of corners into Hogpen. And it's a very long start-finish straight here as well, which means you can really tee it up nicely for the horseshoe. If you're trying to go for an overtake manoeuvre, you can swing it high to the outside, as we saw with Seth Thomas earlier on. And now, is that what we're going to see with Andrew Martin in the number 5? He's rubbing door panels and paint with Faust and could get the inside line here into NASCAR. And Andrew Martin now dives through at left hook. But still, Adam Faust, he runs a little bit wide, but still keeps the throttle pinned in. Martin goes through, no hesitation, no second invitation required.
And that was a long time coming. There was a really nice defensive move there into turn 1, holding on to it. They were going practically side by side all the way through NASCAR. Finally coming up to the entrance to Snake, was able to just sneak the car around and get it in front. But boy, that was a long time coming. Persistence and patience pays off in spades.
Yeah, considering the fact that Andrew Martin had a big off and the front end of the Acura earlier on in the race was a shadow of its former self, let's say. The hood of the car was completely stricken from the vehicle. We've got Daniel Vincent in the number 4 McLaren 720S GT3, also a car that's evolved. There's a lot of Evo packages coming out, especially with the new BMW M4 GT3 Evo that quite recently took the win at the 20th anniversary of the 24 Hours of Dubai just the other weekend. But McLaren 720S is another solid GT3 car, especially when you got teams such as United Autosports run by Zach Brown and Richard Dean. You know, it's a strong car, and Daniel's doing a really solid job keeping it in third at the moment. But Jamil Gummer in the number 10 Acura is just running away with it. And here's the famed Grillo paint on Rafael Junior Torres's car in the number 13, running about 10 seconds behind. He was battling away with Jamil Gummer in the early stages, but had a moment just before the halfway mark, and lost a big chunk of time. I think probably about the best part of 5 seconds. Might have gotten at least a slowdown, but Gummer in his Acura is just completely flying away, and no one's been able to challenge him.
Yeah, he's pretty much checked out up there. It looks like coming through the oak tree now. There used to be a beautiful oak tree there. No longer. It went down, I think it was 2013 or so. But man, look at that Acura just take off up the straight. He's really got the feel for this car. I've been watching what he's been doing with it. Just perfect rotations, right brake control. He really knows what he's doing with this car.
He runs into the roller coaster section at about the best part, well, the roller coaster section at around about 155 miles an hour before he slams on the anchors. And after this, well, when he crosses the stripe after Hogpen, it's going to be one more lap to go. Jamil Gummer has led every single lap of this race and put it on pole position, and is now very shortly going to start the white flag lap here at VIR. We ride on board. Now you see the indicated speed in the bottom right corner of your screens. 155 before he goes onto the brakes, 50 miles an hour on the apex. Second gear now starts to accelerate and rotate the car through the corner. And also looking at the steering input here, Michael, that GT3s, it's a balancing act. It's like you've got to be a ballerina on the steering wheel. You know, you've got these minute adjustments when you think, oh, maybe I could have used an extra degree or 2 degrees of angle, turning right or turning left to rotate the car through the corners, because it is all about carrying that momentum and carrying that rotation through the corners to really get the best out of the setup.
Indeed it is. And a lot of times when I'm coaching someone who's come from maybe TCR or even GT4 and they want to hop into a GT3, they're really surprised at how quick the steering is on these cars. You are absolutely right. 2 degrees difference in a corner makes a massive amount of difference in the way the car handles and the way the car is going to perform. A little bit of steering correction there as we saw him coming out of Oak Tree, trying to hold onto that car. Probably had a tiny bit too much, maybe that 2 degrees we were just talking about going through there. Now he powers up that back straight. He can keep it pretty much straight for here, and then he has to turn it in right as he comes up into this brake zone for his last time through roller coaster.
So, after the opening race of the season, this man was leading the championship and is going to continue to extend his lead after the opening sprint race. Jamil Gummer in the number 10 Acura NSX GT3 bumps his way through turns 16A, 16B, now through onto the front straight via Hogpen at turn number 17. Jamil Gummer continues the win streak here in the Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series in race 1, taking the checkered by a country mile. I hate to think what state he'd be in with the lead that he's got. Rafael Junior Torres will bring it across the line. The number 13 Grillo Porsche, 10.1 seconds adrift. And then rounding out the top 3, well, it's 3 different manufacturers. McLaren following Porsche, following Acura. Daniel Vincent in the number 4 takes 3rd place, having started on the outside of row number 3. David Madden started P3, finishes 4th, having made a little bit of a recovery drive. Philip, who started in 8th, I think that's Philip, finished in P3, and decides to have a little bit of
a little fun at the end of the race.
Yeah, so like it's a bit like whenever we see the iRacing special events with the 12 hours of Bathurst, that everyone goes over the jump just after Conrod Straight. Murat Sterenberg has done a really good job. Started from the outside of row 6 and kept the number 7's nose clean to finish in P6. Also, Todd Westfelling in the number 6 car, who started in the top 10, rounds out 7th, but well, a very, very interesting and exciting opening race of the evening here for the Drivers Club of Road Atlanta. Race 1, round 2 here at VAR. But let's have a look at our provisional results for this first race out of 2. Jamil Gummer in the number 10 takes the win by nearly 10.5 seconds ahead of Rafael Junior Torres. Daniel Vincent in 3rd, David Madden in 4th, Flip in 5th, Murat Sterenberg in 6th, Todd Westfelling, Seth Thomas, Adam Faust and Andrew Martin rounding out the top 10. So Adam Faust, the Mustang, keeping the number 5 Acura at bay. Jason Owens and Cameron T. Campbell complete the full field that made it across the line. The last 2 drivers 1 lap off of the leaders. But As you said, Michael, you do a lot of driver coaching. What's the biggest challenges that drivers have to acclimatise to here at VIR? Because, as I said, you're not resting for long. Even if you're on that back straight, you're possibly adjusting your brake balance, getting yourself ready for that heavy braking zone at 150 plus miles an hour into turn 13 at the roller coaster.
Well, I think the biggest thing, and you hit the nail on the head there, is it's one of the first tracks people get into a car where they do need to, especially in GT3, they do need to start playing with that brake balance. The brake balance you have at turn 1 is very different than what you have when you're going into NASCAR. And some people even switch it again for that brake coming into Snake, and then you kind of have your moment of rest as you go up the hill, and then you think, oh, okay, climbing S's come through here, South Bend. Oh, I got the oak tree coming up. Oh, where was it supposed to be now? And getting them used to thinking about those types of things and where to set it and how that different setting will affect the car. And what is it going to do? You push that brake balance a little bit to the rear, the car's going to rotate a little more. Is it going to be too much, too little? What do you like? What do I like? It's different. It's really one of those interesting things that it's all about personal choice. Just because I want 53% going in here doesn't mean 53% is right for you. It could be you want 49. Probably not. That's a big jump. It doesn't sound like much, but that's a huge jump. Like coming right up into here, if we watch how this car rotates, we've got Murad on board right here, didn't quite get the rotation he wanted. He would have been better off, I think, pushing that brake balance a little bit to the rear there to get the car to rotate. However, he's on cold tires, so I couldn't say that for absolute certain. I'd want to watch him go through probably 2 or 3 times once he has those tires nice and warmed up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, getting that, weighting and getting, as we were talking about, the degree of angle, you can see a lot of adjustment going through the roller coaster here, because you are not like say in a road car, if you were going around this corner at say 50, 60 miles an hour, you're going to be at a smooth trajectory with your steering wheel input. Whereas with the GT3, you've really, it's warts and all. There's nowhere to hide. Your belts and braces. You are in an aero-heavy vehicle that has a lot of power, lightweight, and you've got slick racing tires. So you've got to look at it. You've got to take away from the road car driving mentality and go, right, okay, I'm in a race car. I've got to put everything I can into it. And obviously, folks, in terms of sim racing, these drivers will be exhausted mentally and physically. I don't care who you are. I mean, the thing is, we've both seen, Michael, drivers such as Max Verstappen, Tony Kanaan. I still even remember the Le Mans 24-hour virtual where Simon Pagenaud had to swap his sim rig halfway through, having a disconnect from the server, and he had a spare sim rig steering wheel set of pedals, and it was one cable. He changed it, and they showed it all live on air. That even those drivers find this as a great training tool as well, don't they?
Absolutely. I use sim racing as a training tool personally, and for people that I'm coaching, to just kind of reassociate where things are at the track. Now, to be fair, I can't do setup changes. I can't say, well, in the sim, I had my damper set at this and was using this spring rate. It is going to be different. It is absolutely different because they do what they can with it, and then things in the cars change. Things become a little out of whack because, as you've seen, there's a little bit of rubbing from time to time, and things go a little bit off kilter. So a 1/10 of a millimeter here and there, believe it or not, makes a huge difference.
And also, these warm-up sessions, folks, really give everyone an opportunity just to, get a little bit more comfortable, dial in the car, maybe if they can do a little bit of a setup change. Of course, one of the things I love about GT3 racing, Michael, is there's none of this standing start malarkey. You've got to be like, you've got to have hawk eyes to keep an eye on when those lights go out and you bury that throttle. You've got to nail that start perfectly. And that sets you up nicely for the roller momentum going into what we're now going to have, which is a 30-minute race. So the drivers are going to be under a little bit more duress, and they've got to apply a different strategy call.
Standing start is a completely different type of way to go. Now, we did standing starts for a little while when I was in Pirelli World Challenge, and we would do one standing start race for the weekend and one rolling start. My preference is always rolling start. I do it better. I tell everyone constantly, I am a terrible drag racer. One of my worst experiences was I was on pole for the second race. Because the first race I got a really good start, I got the fastest lap, so my pole time, boom, my time put me on pole, and then I went from first to seventh by turn one because I am terrible at launches.
Yeah, so that is the end of the warm-up ahead of race 2, round 2 of the 2025 Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter League. Big thank you once again to Jason with Dash Sim Sports, which you will see their logo on the cars and also on the top right-hand corner of your screens during this GSRC broadcast. He's helped to organise the league, provide racing simulator building, installation and servicing for the members of the club, which has been a great help for everybody. So, top 10 invert for race number 2. Andrew Martin and Adam Faust will be on the front row. Martin on pole. Seth Thomas and Todd Westfelling will be on row number 2, with Murat Sterenberg and Flip on row 3. David Madden and Daniel Vincent row 4. Rafael Junior Torres and Jamil Gummer are drivers that finished second and first in the opening race of the night, round out the top 10. And, well, Jason Owens and Cameron T. Campbell will start from the back row of the grid. Of course, top 10 inverts here, Michael, also adds a little bit of spice to the mix, doesn't it?
It's one of my favorite things you often see in club racing is those inverted grids. It's a lot of fun. It gives everyone a chance. Sometimes maybe you didn't get the best start, or you're just really good at traffic. Personally, I love winning a race, then coming back and being 8th or 10th or however many back they send you, and working my way through the field. It is an absolute hoot. I have some of the best racing I've ever had in those inverted grid type situations. So I absolutely love an inverted grid.
Well, once again, it's going to be a very short pace lap as we have the Porsche 911 pace car with its lights off, and it will dart into pit road before we get things underway for this second race of the night for round 2 here at VIR. So once again, different strategy, maybe conserving the fuel a little bit more, playing the strategy towards your race, not anybody else. Pace car in pit road as we get set for the revs to start to build, and already one of the Mustangs has already, I think that's Seth Thomas, that has already tried to see if he can make a bit of a jump, but everyone in line astern fashion as we go green for 30 minutes, and it's the run up to the horseshoe for the first time. And, well, Thomas has got the jump. He's leading by 1.6 seconds. And then it's Faust, Martin, Westfelling, Sterenberg rounding out the top 5. It's all started to change a little bit now as there is Martin. Well, you can just see nearly 3 abreast coming out of the left hook there, Michael. That's a bit of a worrying sight as we nearly have. We've got one around, and that is...
Looks like Adam Faust. I think that's Adam Faust who found himself doing a little yard work there, cutting the grass.
Yeah, he was mowing it with a split at the front splitter, and then it ended up being the rear tyres because it was backwards the wrong way. Murat Sterenberg closing in on Rafael Torres Jr., who's got a really, really good start and is already up to P6. And more to the point, Jamil Gummer's only made it up to P8, but has got Murat Sterenberg in the number 7, who runs wide coming out of turn number 12 at Oak Tree. That's exactly what you were talking about. And we saw Sterenberg make that same mistake, Michael, going through turn 12 during the warm-up. And now there is Owens trying to get alongside the Ferrari, and they are going to trade a little bit of paint into roller coaster. But Sterenberg keeps the throttle pinned. Owens backs out of it and thinks, well, we're only a minute and a half into this race. I don't want any dramas right now.
Yeah, drama is not a good thing at the beginning of the race. You want to save that for the end when you've got a lot of room to play with. All the cars are really close together at the moment. So it looks like we've got a Porsche off track there. That's going to be, looks like Westfelling.
Yeah.
And he comes back on and looks like he's going to try to get right in behind that McLaren and see if he can get his way back up.
Yeah, that's Daniel Vincent, who fires it up the inside through at Horseshoe on Cameron T. Campbell, and now goes up to 9th as number 4 McLaren, but he runs a bit deep. I think 2 wheels are on the grass there on the outside. And Sterenberg trying to close in on Owens, and oh well, Cameron T. Campbell's evening hasn't gone very well in race 1. But at least it's only 2.5 minutes into race 2. There's still 27 minutes plus change, but we've got, oh, that is Gummer. Gummer has gone around. Luckily, no damage to the number 10. So Jamil Gummer, winner in race 1. Well, how the tables have turned here in the early throes of race number 2.
Yeah, Gummer had made a little bit of progress moving up, trying to get up to the front of the field. Speaking of the front of the field, though, it looks like Seth Thomas, the guy who took off in that Mustang at the beginning of the race, is suddenly finding himself in P2. Andrew Martin has been able to get his Acura around in front of him. So I think it's something with the way these tires warm up a little bit differently on the cars. But now notice, gets that inside line, goes into the braking zone. Can he squeeze it in? No, probably saving this nice long legs of that Mustang for the front straight. Better place to do it. So he gets himself caught up here as they go into the last part here through roller coaster. And then he's got to put on the power and hope that he can catch him down that straightaway.
Yeah, well, also, in the meantime, going through into roller coaster, great move from Daniel Vincent on Murat Sterenberg into roller coaster. And that was the run for P7. Seth Thomas now closes in on our leader, Andrew Martin, in the number 5 car. Martin sets the new fastest lap with a 48.371. Right on board with the 81. I love the noise of this V8 Mustang. That's one of the things I love about iRacing, the attention to detail. And now Thomas is going to send it. He sent it through left hook. That was brave, that was bold, that was beautifully done by the 81 Mustang. And I have to say, in some respects, it's nice to see the Cause logo being shown on a good old pony car.
Yeah, boy, did he ever lick that stamp and send it. That was a little bit of a late move, but these guys, I think, know each other well enough. There was no untoward action there. He was able to shoot himself through there, and I think this is going to be a really fun race, actually, because now Andrew Martin has the opportunity to come back in front of him. As he, look at that, he gets so much more stable of an exit out of there. He's going to try to sit in that draft right now and hope they can put a little bit of a gap on David Madden behind them.
I think one of the beautiful things about Martin is the fact that the car's mid-engine rear-wheel drive, so the center of gravity and the weight distribution is a little bit more even on that Acura, whereas with the Mustang, it's been like that for so many years. It's front engine, it's nose heavy, so there's no real weight on the back axle of the car. So if you try and rotate it and try and gun the throttle early, you can spool up the rear tires, and the car might judder, might stutter a little bit coming out of the corner, and that's exactly what we saw with Thomas. Vincent now closing in on Owens in the car in front. That's Jason Owens in the number 8, who unfortunately found himself a lap down at the tail end, but Owens has made good progress. He was on the back row of the grid. He's halfway through. He's echoing what Sterenberg did in the opening race, but Vincent dives up the inside through T1. A little bit of a robust move there by the number 4 McLaren, but gets through, gets the job done. Jamil Gummer, who's now up into 9th place, has just put in the fastest lap on a 46.671. But that was a great textbook move there. A little bit of Rubbings racing, as we both know, Michael. But that was very clean on the move that he did on Owens. Just lined it up nicely, gave Owens enough racing room, and got the move completed very, very early, rather than what we saw earlier on between Thomas and Martin, which took a long time to happen.
I had a team owner one day tell me, we were doing, I think it was the Roar at the Roar before the 24, said, if you don't come back with donuts on the car this time, you're fired. So he wants us to be that close. He wants us to get those donuts from the wheels of the other car on the side of our car. It shows that we're really putting the car out there. We're really pushing as hard as we can.
Of course, this weekend, folks, don't forget, it's the Rolex 24 at the World Centre of Speed, and I know for a fact I will be watching as much of the coverage because it's the opening round of this year's IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. But Rafael Torres, side by side into the roller coaster, passed through on David Madden, easy as you like. Madden didn't really fight that and knew that Torres had the pace over him to make the move completed. And that's the thing, when you're nearly a third of the way through the race, you just want to try and, if you can, do a little bit of damage limitation, but also maybe conserve the tyres on the car, because there's a lot of heavy braking zones. There's a lot of sideways, lateral sideways G-force going through the sidewalls of the tyres when we go through Horseshoe, NASCAR, left hook, then through into Snake. Plus also, there's been that new debris model that has been put onto the iRacing server. So if you go on track, your tyres are going to dirty. Whether it's grass, whether it's dust, whether it's rubble, if it's off like rubber pickup from the outside of the racing line. But that was textbook from Torres Jr.
And as we were talking earlier about Seth Thomas in that Mustang with the engine up front, we're looking at Torres here with the engine in the back. Exactly the opposite problem. But it's really interesting on the Porsche. As it burns that fuel down, the nose comes up ever so slightly. And this is a game where millimeters matter. You can have that nose a millimeter too high and the car just feels awful. The rear end stays planted on that Porsche because you got a ton of weight back there and it's easy to come out of every corner. But getting into them, sometimes the car feels a little unbalanced because that nose is just seriously a millimeter too high.
So we now concentrate on the battle for 5th place, and it is between Daniel Vincent and Jason Owens. McLaren versus Acura. Down the back straight away they go, up the incline, and it's the double crest that they see. And more to the point, we seem to have had a drama for our man in the 81. Looks like Seth Thomas, who started P3 and got the whole shot on the start, has dropped all the way down to 11th place, ahead of Adam Faust. So the two Mustangs quite a way off where they were, well, especially Thomas, and you can see a little bit more exit taken. And here is the move for the race lead. Rafael Junior Torres round the outside of Martin and gets the run, got the side draft there more importantly, but he's lost it a little bit through Horseshoe. And now Martin gets through, nearly could have opened the door there to Junior Torres, but he retakes the lead at full breakneck speed in the Porsche through at NASCAR Bend. Well, that was a case of, once again, seeing the lick the stamp and send it there, Michael. And Junior Torres made good his makeup for that mistake through turn 1 at Horseshoe.
Indeed he did. And he's been about 2 seconds a lap, maybe a second and a half faster in general. When you look at the best lap times for each of those drivers, you're looking at a 46.7, almost a 46.8 for Torres. Martin has a 48 flat. So there's a big difference in these cars and the drivers. The Porsche just has the legs here, and Torres, honestly, I think has a little bit better feel for the car. From what I'm watching, yes, Martin was able to take off and do a brilliant job at the opening of the race. But Torres, remember where he started. He was 8 places back from here, worked his way back up to the front, just sliced through traffic as we watch him here, just continuing to pull away as he comes up into roller coaster with that Acura trying to close that gap up again.
Yeah, but they've got a Cavallino Rampante, the prancing horse, not too far behind. Well, you can probably make that 2 of them because you've got Madden in 3rd. And then there is the second of the 2 Ferrari 296 GT3s. So David Madden really coming into the fore, could have a trio or a quartet possibly battling for the lead. We are 11 minutes through this 30-minute second race, the feature race here for round 2 for the iRacing Winter League Driving Club of Road Atlanta. So it's Rafael Junior Torres leading the way ahead of Andrew Martin. David Madden in the Ferrari in 3rd. Then flip in the number 3 Ferrari rounding out the top 4. Daniel Vincent in the McLaren number 4 car rounding out the top 5 with Sterenberg, Westphaling, Owens, Gummer, Cameron T. Campbell, and that is going to be the battle. Right, Jason Owens might have just served a drive-through penalty, or is that a pit stop for repairing damage? But Martin has just been done by Madden. Madden was wheel to wheel, rubbing the paint off the front fenders with the bright fluorescent yellow Acura number 5 of Martin. That was a great move there from Madden there, Michael. He literally just went, right, if I'm not going to get through by making a move, I'm going to shove my way past. And that's exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, and that's a perfectly valid way to do it, as long as you don't take the other driver out. And that's the really big caveat there. I oftentimes see people just shove it in there and hope it's going to work. Like, yeah, you were never going to make that turn. In this case, it was a good, aggressive, but confident move that put the car in the right place. Both drivers did exactly the right thing and continued driving along. This is 5 places up for Madden. So he's been working his way through the field too. And I think he's got his eyes set on that P1. He's about 1.5 seconds off of him right now, but that could change pretty soon.
Oh, moment there, tank slapper for Andrew Martin coming out of the final corner. He's in the barriers and actually ended up in the entrance to the pit lane.
That's kind of an unwanted pit stop, and there's a car behind him looking to get into the pit as well, I think.
Oh, don't tell me that's Flip. That's Flip and the Ferrari behind him. Oh my goodness. All it took was 2 wheels on that grass. And, well, what can you say? Andrew Martin was leading this race. And look at the back of the Acura. That is a complete and utter mess. He's going to be in there for a long time. And you can see the front of Flip's 296. The front hood cover is completely missing. So both of them have sustained significant damage. So it means we now have a new 3rd place driver, Daniel Vincent, in the number 4 McLaren. Marat Sterenberg in now what is the second of the Ferraris in the field. And then we've got Todd Westfelling, who's...
Ooh, Madden just went off. Madden went off right behind Torres. He was trying to close that up. And now he's about 3 seconds off because he just cooked it a little bit too much going into Oak Tree. Couldn't get that car rotated around for the last part of it.
Oh, well spotted there, Michael. Thank you for that. That just goes to show when you see these tracks that have been around since the late 1950s, and there's quite a few here in the United States, especially here at VIR. This is an old school circuit. There's a lot of grass runoff area, not much gravel to speak of, but when you hit the barriers, as we just saw with Andrew Martin, and of all the places, I think from what I saw there, he gunned it too early coming out of Hogpen, and there's Cameron T. Campbell going for a little bit of a rotation out of Oak Tree.
Just bring it on back around. He likes this corner so much he wanted to take it twice. That's what it was.
He was trying to do his Travis Pastrana Huckster, a Subaru Huckster impersonation there, didn't he? Like the old.
It's the Hooniverse.
there we go. Yeah. But the thing is that one of the things I love about this league is that some of the drivers will not give up. Now we are seeing some pit stops actually occurring. So maybe some drivers have caused themselves a little bit of a mischief, or they've decided that this might have a... So Marat Sterenberg comes in, car looking very nice and clean. And there you see the car now moving out of the pit lane. Of course, with the GT3s, they will have the hazard warning lights flashing when they move out of pit road. That is a standard requirement for all GT3 cars, especially what you see with GT World Challenge across the world from Europe, America, Australia, Asia, amongst others. There's so much GT3 action, which SRO has very much done a fantastic job over the last few decades to under the guidance of Stefan Rettel himself, to really bring GT3s to the fore. And it's actually, whenever I get on a sim, someone always goes to me, what's your favourite car you like to drive? And I go, stick me in a GT3 and I'm a happy man. And it's normally a Germanic one. It normally ends up being the BMW M4.
Yeah, the new M4 is really, really nice. It's a good car. Beautiful balance. I've been a Porsche guy for a long time, but I've also raced for BMW. I like the BMW. You know, it kind of depends on the track for me. If I had the same question though, it would honestly be LMP2. I love the LMP2s, and specifically, I like the Ligier a little bit better than the Dallara, but I would take either one, honestly.
There you go, folks. You hear our preferred choices when it comes to vehicles. Of course, I've not had any racing experience. I've been a commentator. This is now my full-time, my ninth season of being, doing the play-by-play. Jamil Gummer, who has been, who had that big spin earlier on in the race with 13 minutes to go, sets the new fastest lap of 46.394, and now at the moment, Michael, runs P4, but 23 seconds behind this man here, Daniel Vincent in the number 4 McLaren.
It's going to take a pretty big off track here for that McLaren to be to have any worries from Jamil Gummer. I think he's got it pretty well at hand, but we've watched some really crazy stuff happen in this race. Like right now, if you look, that is David Madden right now trying to close it up. He's down to 2 seconds. He was over 3 seconds after that split. Now he's just under 2 off of Torres, and it looks like I think he's just got better brakes. I think he's able to handle the braking going into some of these sections a lot better than that Porsche is.
I think you're right. I mean, obviously you were talking about the fact that the Porsches always have their fuel tanks in the front of the car underneath the hood. Which is why you normally see someone kneeling on the front, on the hood anyway, when they're sticking the fuel nozzle to fill it. And yeah, I think probably it's a bit more planted, and the Ferrari just seems to have that better balance. I mean, going through there at Horseshoe, David Madden was just skirting with the curbing, using the white line just as a marker, and it's just so much smoother. You can just see he's comfortable, he's in the zone, he's getting that gap down. It was 2.1 seconds, and Torres is starting to struggle with 11 minutes and change still on the timer to go. Madden is just calm. I mean, look, it doesn't seem he's ruffled at all. That gap's come up to about 1.6. But the Ferrari has the better balance. That rear engine, rear wheel drive Porsche, that fuel tank isn't its best friend right now.
Yeah, and to be fair, they do put the fuel tank more towards the front in the mid-engine cars as well. It sometimes will sit right behind the driver, but if I recall correctly, in this particular Ferrari, it is up front, but not as dramatic as it is in the Porsche. But what I'm seeing right now is someone who's in the zone. David Madden is just driving. He's got his markers. There's nobody in his way. He comes up to his spot. He hits the brakes exactly like he knows how to do it. Comes in. Look how much he closes up there. That was huge as he came into there. That was absolutely massive how much he was able to close up just under braking. He's right at about 1.5 seconds. Little touch of the brakes just to control the car as he comes through Hogpen. Puts the hammer down. Now he's just trying to stick in that draft. He's 1.5 seconds off. He is right in the draft of that Porsche.
So 20 minutes down, 10 to go until we hit the checkered flag here at VIR for race 2, round 2 of the Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series Winter League live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. You're joining myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Michael Johnson in the booth, and David Madden really starting to make significant inroads. At one point, he'd made a big old mistake coming out of Oak Tree, and it was 3.5 seconds. That gap is now pretty much halved, and there is a back marker in front. That is Adam Faust in the number 9 car. So we now get the good old back marker situation here, Michael, and sometimes that's never a good one to deal with, especially when you are right with somebody, you're in their slipstream and you've got a corner coming up. It's a decision whether the driver in front decides to get the hell out of Dodge and get out of your way so as to not compromise you. And there we see Rafael Junior Torres on the flashers to Adam Faust saying, right, just keep your eyes on your mirrors because I'm coming at you at a big rate of speed and I don't want to be held up.
Yeah, we might see a little bit of, grass kicked up there, but maybe a little bit of Porsche help. This actually is going to work out pretty well from Porsche to Porsche. He was able to give him a nice tow all the way down the back straight. Now, as they come up into Hogpen, see if he can keep enough speed here to give him just a little bit of toe, and then he tucks to the inside, allowing the fellow Porsche driver in Torres to come by him. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Madden. Madden's also going to be able to get this little bit of a toe as we come down here, but he is in a less advantageous position. He could use more downforce, more air coming over the car, and it looks like he's just going to let him go by. Well done from that back marker, Adam Faust.
Yeah, Adam currently running P10 at the moment, having started on the outside of the front row for the top 10 invert for this 30-minute race. And now we've got Owens versus Flip, and this is the battle between Acura and Ferrari for 5th place on the road with 7 minutes and 40 to go. Now making their way through in towards Hogpen, and Flip in the number 3 Ferrari getting a bit more curbing, really hustling that car along, and now he's got the slipstream on Owens. Jason Owens going down the front stretch. Across the stripe they go, and the gap between them is 3/10. Flip goes hard on the brakes into Horseshoe, as if to just wake Jason Owens up, as if to say, just to let you know, you've got a Ferrari behind you. But at the moment, well, going into this part, the more technical section of VIR through from Horseshoe in towards Snake at turns 6A and 6B before you're really putting the hammer down through in towards South Bend. And I did see a little onboard earlier on that South Bend, you're not fully committed. It's like T5, and I'm trying to remember which circuit it's at. I can't remember which one it is, but it's basically you have to lift off, otherwise you are going to end off going off track and straight into the barriers. But this is a close battle here, the closest one we've got on our screens, because at the minute with 6.5 minutes to go here, Michael, Junior Torres is away and clear by about 2 seconds from Madden, but Madden is starting to close that gap up. But it's a bit like a pendulum swing at the moment. Like through one particular sector, Madden will be faster. Another sector, Junior Torres will be faster.
Yeah, but meanwhile, back here with Flip, I think Flip is going to be a little bit faster. He's a little bit better under braking. And in general, as we've watched at least 2 of these Ferraris, the one up in P2 and Flip here back in P6, we've got some really good brake control in these Ferraris. A little bit better than we're seeing in the Acura, which was a little bit of a surprise to me because I know what the brakes are like in this Acura. I have not actually driven the Ferrari yet. I've driven it in the sim, not in real life. So, but we have a really good battle going on here. Let's watch them as they go into the braking zone, going a little bit defensive. Is he going to try to go around the outside, or maybe an over-under? It looks like he's going to try that over-under. Gets on the power, but the Acura is able to get the wheels in motion a little bit better coming off that corner.
Yeah, just does go to show how much these drivers are pushing like crazy. And it is, funny enough, it is turn 5 at Road Atlanta. That was the corner that I was trying to make reference to South Bend here at VIR, because you've got a very different set of corners in the opening sector at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, of course, the home of the famed Petit Le Mans, the 10-hour race that always normally closes off the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. But now the battle for the race lead is now heating up with the 6th of the timer, or just under a 6th of the timer left to go. 4 minutes and 40 remaining, and Madden now is within striking distance. He's 8 and a bit tenths behind Rafael Junior Torres, running the wonderful Grillo Manthey livery. Of course, Olaf Manthey, a very, very respected man in the world of sports car, particularly GT3 racing when it comes to Porsches. But yeah, Madden's now really got the bit between his teeth here, Michael. He's gunning for that win and wants to make sure that Junior Torres doesn't have that opportunity. But I think there was a mistake from Madden there.
Yeah, he spun those rear tires up a little bit, got a little bit wiggly coming off the corner. He is trying to watch as they come up into the next braking zone. Right now, going up through the climbing S's, I love this in the GT3. It is flat out all the way up, and I love taking people on thrill rides through there. They've never been in a race car before. Strap them in, you put a right seat in the GT3, put them in there, and I don't think I've ever seen that much white of someone's eyes before when you go through there, because it is absolutely flat out. And as we watch now off the tail of Torres looking back towards that Ferrari of Madden, he is really trying to open this up. It is now 2.3 seconds. I think he finally woke up and decided, okay, I'm going to take the rest of the rubber off these tires.
Yeah, exactly. So we are still waiting for what will happen in the next 3 minutes and change with the last couple of races or so. And this is just how quickly things can actually change. And well, David Madden has just run into pit lane with three minutes to go.
I wonder if he's a little bit short on fuel, or did he get a
drive-through?
Too many offs. He may have gotten too many off tracks and got a drive-through or even a stop and go.
Yeah, well, if they hit 25 incident points, then it would be more the case of just trying to get things. Yeah, he might have been marginal on fuel there, so because if it was a drive-through. But the big question that now looms, folks, is it the case that Rafael Junior Torres has been able to conserve a little bit of fuel, because Jamil Gummer's now gone up into second place as a result of David Madden ending up down pit road? So that Ferrari might have been a little bit heavy on its litres per lap, I think there, Michael, and more to the point, it was a case of, well, Junior Torres has just timed it to perfection, because the next time he crosses the stripe will be on our final lap of the evening.
Yeah, one of the nice things about the Porsche is if you short shift it, it holds power, it revs really high and isn't sucking down fuel like the turbocharged cars do. So you can pull that lever and go up a gear a little bit early and save yourself a lot of fuel. I've done this time and time again in the sim and in real life. The amount of fuel you can save just by a couple of hundred RPM makes a huge difference. So I would bet when we saw that Ferrari closing up, that what was actually going on was a little bit of fuel saving.
Yeah. So Jamil Gummer, with a minute to go, is now going to further extend the lead in the series standings after the opening three.
Torres in the pits.
Oh, well. I think it might be a requirement, to be honest with you. And, well, it just goes to show Gummer is going to take the lead. Now, the big thing is, I don't know if Jamil Gummer's actually taken a pit stop.
He did take a pit stop. He was 3.6 seconds stopped in the box. He was 0.4 from cone to cone, 26.6 for Torres. And now the gap between them is about 2 seconds.
Well, how's about this a turnout for the books, folks? Jamil Gummer spun out early in the race, and I did say when we went green, before we went green, Michael, that strategy was going to play its hand, and Jamil Gummer's got blackjack in comparison with everybody else. So someone else rolled the dice at the craps table and got lucky number 7, and it's the number 10 who's going to make it 3 wins out of 3. As long as Torres does not try and fire it up the inside of the number 10 Acura before we go to the final few corners. So out of turn number 12 at Oak Tree goes the number 10 Acura NSX GT3 of Jamil Gummer, and you can hear that sharp roar of that boxer flat 6 in that Porsche, trying to chase down that V6 turbocharged Acura NSX down the back stretch. But it's not going to be enough. Jamil Gummer comes over through roller coaster, turn 13, 14. Now neatly guides it through 15 without taking too much of the apex curbing. Well, what can you say about this driver here? Jamil Gummer has put on a show and has come back from 10th on the grid and will power his way to the line. 3 from 3. It's the three-peat for Jamil Gummer. Once the victory at Le Mans, 2 wins here at VIR, a clean sweep, and is going to be smiling like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland there, Michael. What a job there by Jamil Gummer. Strategy played to... It was like a 3,000 IQ strat there. Oh!
Oh, a little bit of
After
overzealous after flag fun. I never do that. I have actually sprained my wrist from somebody doing that. So I never do that. I remember parking the car and had my hand on the wheel and somebody just playing around. They weren't trying to be mean or anything. They smashed into the rear of my car and it ripped my wrist around, and I had a sprained wrist for about 2 weeks. That was not fun.
So, folks, even if you're on a sim, don't chance it. Don't chance it. Michael's
That's
just
about as hurt as we can get in the sim, I guess.
But there you go. We're just waiting for the last few runners and riders to come across the line here at VIR to conclude what's been a really, really fantastic and wonderfully exciting feature race here at VIR for the second round out of 6 for the iRacing Winter League, as Adam Faust does a bit of Valtteri Bottas impersonation, like Valtteri did back at Mercedes at the Red Bull Ring in 2020. And there you see the debris model very much in action there, throwing the glass via the rear splitter onto the circuit, dirtying up the track. Adam Faust in the Rexy Porsche liveried number 9 car will come across the stripe and finish in 8th spot. But, well, what can you say, Michael? Jamil Gummer's been the tour de force so far in these opening 3 races over the last 2 rounds of the season so far.
Well, if today is any indication, he really embodied what I teach when I'm trying to coach someone. And it sounds really weird to say this, but one of the most important things you can do behind the wheel of a race car is have patience. And patience was exactly what he put on display here. We watched him sit there in P10 for so long, and then as the end of the race showed up, boom, there he is in first. We didn't see him making any crazy moves or anything, but that put him at the top of the table here, top step of the podium, P1, Jamil Gummer.
So Jamil Gummer makes it the three-peat. 3 from 3 here in the iRacing Winter League for the Drivers Club of Road America here at VIR, winning by just over 1.8 seconds ahead of Rafael Junior Torres, who had to do the latest of splash and dashes, folks. David Madden also Road Atlanta. So yeah, Road Atlanta. Thank you, Michael, for correcting me on the Discord. It's what time is it here in the UK?
They're both great tracks, though. I love Road America too.
Both great tracks. So for these guys here, Jamil Gummer winning by 1.8 seconds ahead of Rafael Junior Torres. So the top 2 exactly the same as we saw in the opening race of the evening, and David Madden picks up a podium, taking 3rd in the number 2 Ferrari, who at one point was getting closer and closer to Junior Torres before he had to do a splash and dash. Jason Owens outside of the top 10 in race 1, 4th in race number 2. Solid 2 5th place finishes for Flip in the number 3 Ferrari. Daniel Vincent 3rd in race 1, 6th in race 2. Murat Sterenberg a 6th in race 1, 7th in race 2. Adam Faust going 1 place better in race 2, finishing 8th. Cameron T. Campbell, despite his Hoonigan impersonation at the Oak Tree in his 2nd spill of the night, ended up P9 ahead of Andrew Martin, who once again rounded out the top 10. Todd Westfelling finishing 2 laps down in 11th, and Seth Thomas, while his vehicle was flickering quite a bit, and then it looks like he had a disconnect, which meant that he would finish 10 laps off the leaders thereby being a DNF. So that is your provisional results for race number 2. We're going to go to a brief commercial break, and then we'll be back for the post-race show. Oh well, we'll you know what? We'll wait and see if we can.
We could just make snarky comments for a few minutes if you'd rather do that.
We could do if we don't get any driver interviews. But Michael, just you mentioned about the IMSA Michelin Pilot Sports Car Challenge. Just for those folks that don't know who you are, just explain what you've raced in and what your racing career has been like over the past few seasons.
Well, let's see. I got back into professional level racing in about 2013 at Lime Rock. I got a last minute call. Hey, can you race at Lime Rock? Sure. When? Tomorrow. So I jumped in, jumped on an airplane, went to Lime Rock and started racing BMWs with Mitchum Motorsports for a little while. Bounced around several other teams, not just in the Michelin. Well, actually back then it was the Continental Series, which is now the Michelin Series. Raced both ST, GS, done a little bit of TCR here and there, done some touring cars, other touring car levels, all the different levels of touring car, some GT3 stuff, some testing, some prototypes, a little bit of everything over the past little more than a decade that I've been back in it. I go way back in history. I raced a lot in Germany, helped start some series there, did a lot of coaching at places like, well, Spa was actually my favorite, but we also did stuff out of Nürburgring. Wonderful place to drive for a weekend, but I'm not a big fan of racing there, oddly. I'd rather race at Spa, personally.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I'm based in the United Kingdom, where we've got pretty much every track has corner names on it. So I think within a 2-hour drive of me, we've got Brands Hatch Grand Prix, Snetterton 300, Silverstone, Donington Park. But yeah, Spa's one of my favourite tracks. I was at the CrowdStrike 24, not last year, but the year before. Had a fantastic experience. Didn't watch the race because I had other work to do. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, folks, here on GSRC, we have a wide range of people that get behind the mic, like myself, who has been commentating. I've never professionally raced, but I always love calling a race from lights out to checkered, and it's great to have someone like Michael who's got that race driver knowledge and savoir-faire to be able to give you all a bit of an insight. I mean, Michael, what can we take away from these two races? Because next up, it's round 3, Daytona, 1 hour enduro on January 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. GMT. That's going to be a real challenge because obviously they'll have gotten all the fever from the Rolex 24 and gone, right, I need to practice for next week.
Yeah, nothing like last minute. If it weren't for the last minute, we'd never get anything done, right? So Daytona, though, man, it is. Everybody thinks it's simple. You look at it, you've got this, nice little time out on the oval, and then you go into turn 1. Oh, it's just a nice little hook around, and you go, then you got the horseshoes, little dog leg in between. GT3s are going to be flat out through that dog leg. There is no lifting going through the dog leg in a GT3. If you're lifting, something has gone horribly wrong with your car. And then coming back out onto the oval, and people are like, it's not that big of a deal. It is one of the most challenging tracks there is. I think maybe only Sebring is a little bit harder because at Sebring you have about 434 different types of pavement. Here you only have 2, maybe 3, but it's a tough track. It really is tough, and you have to get into a groove. Like we watched there at the end, where Raphael and I think who was it in the Ferrari? Andrew Martin? No.
I think it was David Madden.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was David Madden. Just got into that groove. That is one of the most important things you can do at Daytona is find your groove and just hit your points. Just hit them every single time like clockwork. You have to go through that track very methodically and not try to do something a little bit different this time, because that's going to throw you off. You really need to be an absolute metronome on that track.
Indeed. Well, folks, there you go. There's our upcoming schedule here on the Global SimRacing Channel. The Grand Prix legends fire up and get ready to go racing at Indianapolis on January the 25th at 1:30 p.m. GMT or 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We then later on in the day at 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UTC, head to the Algarve into Portimao for the IMSA Vintage Series, and then PT Autosport will be a little bit later, 5:45 p.m. UTC, 12:40 Eastern, with a track yet to be designated. So watch out and keep an eye on our YouTube channel. If you have watched along with us, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. A big thank you to the team today, from Michael, Daniel and from Dougie. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. Make sure to check out our social media website and merchandise store listed down in the description, don't before. down below. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single second of the racing action here on GSRC. As always, race clean, race hard, and if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.